Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Losing It with Don. Today, I'm talking I'm talking I'm talking it. Robin, Harley, and I just completed our 77-mile through hike of the Foothills Trail. Something that we are all extremely proud of, and it was quite a challenge, but we walked past hundreds of waterfalls, saw some beautiful bald knobs, mountain views, walked around some lakes, but what people asked me the most about was pooping. And I thought it was kind of strange because, I'm a country boy. I grew up hunting and fishing. Pooping in the woods is just something that you do. So I never really gave it a second thought. But turns out that not everyone has that skill set. So I thought it was kind of weird. I'm just like, hey, is this really something that a lot of people are just afraid to do? Or are they just ashamed of having a bowel movement out in Mother Nature? So started watching some YouTube videos, and it turns out that there's a pretty good reason to be afraid. Guys, did you know that every week 6 people die in our national parks? And yeah, some of that is misadventure. They're trying to climb on places that they shouldn't be climbing. But a lot of it is people that simply step off the trail and are never seen again. So started thinking, well, what's the number one reason people stop off trail? And it's usually to go take a dump. So started thinking about it, and it's like, I've always had a pretty good sense of direction, so I don't really use any special tricks when I've got to, go answer Mother Nature's call. I simply walk off trail, find a good place to use the facilities, and then I'll walk back to where I had left the trail. But not everyone has a good sense of direction, so started thinking about what are some of the best ways not to die while taking a poop. Of all the ways to answer Mother Nature's call without dying, probably a GPS device is the best to find exactly where you left trail and to get back. And it's as simple as dropping a waypoint, or some devices might call it drop a pin or drop a flag. And this is real easy to do. Pull out your GPS device before you step off trail, drop your waypoint, walk 100 feet into the woods, do your business, and you don't even have to be looking at your device while you go off. All you have to do now is pull your device out and follow the line back to where you left the trail. Now, the problem with this is that electronic devices can fail. Your batteries may be close to dying. Maybe you've got a GPS device that doesn't pick up all the satellites, so you may be having spotty reception. So what's a good alternative to this? Well, a decent alternative, and I went with the cheapest compass that I could find. And guys, this is not a land nav compass. This is just simply a device that you can use to walk off the trail, poop, and walk back. And there's a couple different ways that you can do it. Probably the easiest is you stop on the trail. I always recommend walking uphill. The reason for this is because it is much easier to see the trail from above than it is below. And here's a couple pictures to illustrate that point. As you can see in this photo, I stopped at the upper trail. I knew that there was a big sweeping cutback, shot a little bit of video, and took a picture through this tree. I'll draw a circle around it right here. And then I walked down to the point that I was photographing from the upper section, turned around, located that same Y-notched tree from below, and took another picture and video from there. And guys, you can see that white, sandy, grayish slash running through the earth is easily visible from above. But when you're standing down here, man, you really, I can tell where the trail is, but just because I had been paying really close attention. So point number one, walk uphill. Most likely from 100 feet, you're going to be able to still look down and see the trail. But if you use a compass, all you have to do is, looking in the direction of travel, turn to face uphill. Now, if uphill is to the left, you do that. Orient the bezel of the compass to where the needle's pointing at your magnetic north. Pay attention to the number on the bezel. Walk 100 yards, and now I find that generally about 40 good paces is going to put you around 100 feet. I had said yards earlier, but it's 100 feet. 40 good paces is going to put you about 100 feet off trail, and you do your business. Now, I said pay attention to that number, because what you're going to do is you're going to look at the number directly opposite that number, turn your bezel to where it's there, and you're walking in the direction of travel, and make sure that your north is pointing to magnetic north again. And all you got to do is walk straight back, keeping that magnetic north pointing at the end, and it's going to take you back to the trail. There's other types of compasses that you can do this with. You really don't even have to pay attention to, turning the outer bezel. You could simply make sure that the red section of the needle is pointing at the north when you walk out, and then turn around and make sure that the white portion of the needle is pointing at north when you walk back to the trail. Now, if you're interested in learning how to use a compass, there's some really good ones out there. Get a lensatic compass, and guys, you can, with the same degree of accuracy of plotting a GPS point, knowing how to shoot an azimuth, how to figure out the declination of the compass, and how to triangulate points on a map, you can find precisely where you are using a compass and a topographical map. But that's a long lesson for a different time. All right, now going even lower tech than using the compass is a method that you could call it the connect the dots, or maybe the Pacman method. And with this, turn off trail, again facing uphill, take yourself about 4 strides and kind of scrape down to there's a bare spot. And really you just have to kick the leaves up a little bit, because the underlying ground is going to be a lot darker than the leaves on top. Take another 4 steps, do this again till you've got 10 dots, because now again you're about 40 paces off the trail, so you should be close to 100 feet. Now simply turn and look downhill. You should be able to clearly see these marks that you made on the earth. And now pretend you are Pac-Man going back, and cover those back up so that you stop at each dot, kick the leaves back over it so that you're not just leaving a bare spot on the ground, all the way back till you're back to the trail again. And that's a simple method of finding exactly where you are, or exactly where you had left the trail. Just make sure that you try to practice leave no trace. All right. Another good way to do this is you're going to have some bear cable, or a way to hang your bear bag at any point. So probably the cheapest, most fail-proof method of finding your way from the trail to a point to poop and back is get yourself some of this bright orange string like I have here. Now this was my bear bag cord. It's only about 40 foot, so you might have to put a couple of these together, but I just use this for demonstration purposes. You can buy the surveyor's cord. It's really cheap. You can get it in bright orange at places like Harbor Freight or Walmart, and you can get a big old spool that's like 500 feet for, probably less than $5. Put a carabiner on the end of this, loop it around a small tree right beside the trail, and just feed it out as you walk to the place where you're going to take your dump. Once you get there, it might be a good idea to have this pre-measured so you can mark where you're at 100 feet. And it's probably a good idea to mark this even to where you're at 150 feet for giving it a dual-purpose mission. And so finding a quick bathroom point with this, real easy. You go out till you're at your 100 feet, do your business, and then follow the string back to where you left the trail. All right, another good way to use this will be when you're in camp and a lot of us, especially when we're older, we might have to get up and use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and in the dark, it's really hard to find your way back sometimes, or really easy to get disoriented. So you could actually use this cable to stretch from your tent out to where you're going to hang your bear bag, which is usually recommended to be about 150 feet or more. But if you put this in a camp, realize other people are going to be walking through, so a lot of times it can be pretty crowded. But if you put this above head height to where it's about 6 or 7 feet up above the ground, feed it out to where you're going to hang your bear bag, and then at 100 feet you could tie a little piece of reflective material, so you could get out at night, walk to that point, and then turn and walk, 15 or 20 steps to the left or right of this, and then do your business, walk back to your cord, and follow it back to your campsite. So, good way not to get lost in the middle of the night. Good way to find your bear bag. A lot of times people want to break camp while it's still dark out. So finding that bear bag, getting it down, getting back to your tent. This is a great way to do that. And now you're not carrying a piece of string just for a single purpose. Now it'll serve dual purposes. All right, now a lot of you guys may have thought that I made this video to tell you how exactly to poop in the woods. But no, this is more about finding your way back, people getting lost and dying. But there are a couple methods, just in case no one's ever taught you how to poop in the woods. So there's a lot of good videos out there that get a lot more in-depth than this. Some of them have good advice, some have bad advice. One of the worst pieces of advice I think there is leaning against a tree and just letting that prop you up so you can take a poop. Because guys, you need to bury your poop. 90% of all fatal Sasquatch attacks are on hikers who failed to bury their poop. So, bury your poop or Sasquatch is going to get you. So, digging down, you're supposed to dig a minimum of 6 inches. So, against a tree, you're going to hit roots by going down that far. Now, some folks show to find a smaller tree, wrap your hands around that, and lean back, and do your business that way. Now, you are probably going to have a better luck of digging a 6-inch deep hole with this method, because the roots will get smaller the further from the trunk you get. But guys, the easiest thing in the world to do is just to squat down, put your elbows on your knees, make sure you tilt your butt back, because you got to aim this thing. If you squat and you let your butt kind of go forward, like if you're arching your spine over, it's most likely going to be aiming towards your boots. That could be quite a mess, especially if you're suffering some intestinal distress. So make sure, kind of act like you're twerking, push that thing back, make sure you've got a good line, and just let go. If you do need support, then you can get a little bit further away from a tree, reach back, use it to stabilize you. You can go out to the side, or you can find a place where there's going to be a better chance of not having roots, and use a trekking pole. You can, your walking sticks, your trekking poles, a staff, you can use this, brace yourself back, maybe make it a little bit more comfortable, and do your business. Now, another piece of advice, guys, you may be tempted, if you're with a friend, hiking partner, or just with a group, to leave your backpack with them before you run off into the woods. Do not do that. Don't just grab your poop kit and go, because your means of surviving is in that backpack. And it could mean the difference of dying of exposure your first night stuck in the woods, or giving rescuers, several days to be able to find you. Take it with you. Don't leave it sitting back there, because there's one of the stories I came across. A hiker had gotten lost. She managed to survive almost 26 days. She did unfortunately succumb to exposure, ran out of food, most likely starved to death. But guys, she had 26 days for people to find her, because she had her backpack with her. There's other instances where the backpacks have been found near a trail, and the hiker's never been found. And I imagine things didn't go very well. Now, another point of advice here is check before you poop. You may be tempted to find a log that's laying down on the ground. Uh, it's not a bad place because you can be supported but away from roots. The thing is that all kinds of critters like to make their homes here. You're looking at somebody's habitat when you approach one of these areas. So poke around underneath the log, make sure there's no snakes or scorpions or spiders just sitting there waiting for a nice bite of butt. But even without those creatures, there's fire ants. I have been bit by a fire ant while trying to use a log before. But if you find a log that's still somewhat suspended to where it's caught near its trunk and then angled down to the ground, kind of like this tree, then these are awesome because you can check under it really good, dig yourself a nice hole. You can even keep your backpack on, let your backpack sit against the tree here and support you, and it's probably the most comfortable way. If I can find a log like this, 90% of the time, that's what I'm going to look for. The other thing you need to look for is look up. One of the things that a lot of hikers and campers are familiar with are these things called widowmakers, and those are limbs that are hanging from the top of a tree that with a good gust of wind could fall from the tree right on top of you and take you out. And guys, even if it doesn't kill you, if it injures you so bad that you're stuck, 10 miles from your next resupply or from anything where people can find you easily, then that a minor injury can suddenly become very life-threatening. Another thing that you might not think about is that in areas where there are bears and mountain lions, well, bears and mountain lions can climb trees. And it would be awfully bad that if you had scared a bear cub up from looking for grubs and termites at the log that you're now using, he had ran up a tree and now all of a sudden mama bears come looking for him and there you are squatting under a tree with cub, hiding up above. Mountain lions have been known to ambush their prey from up in a tree, so you being helpless squatted down below a mountain lion, well, that could be, the way that you go.
So guys, all kinds of expensive equipment before their first backpacking trip. And then they spend a whole lot of time trying it on, making sure it fits, learning how to use their stove, learning how to use their pack, making sure their shoes don't leave hot spots. But then the very first time they ever poop in the woods is under an emergency situation. One of the most important things that you can do is make sure that you don't wait to the last minute to find a place to poop. Because guys, when you feel that pressure coming on, you'll forget everything else. You won't have the situational awareness, probably won't pay attention to which direction you turned, won't pay attention to how many steps you took, won't even notice if you went uphill or downhill. So don't wait to the last minute. You kind of have a pretty good idea of how long after you eat and drink you need to use the bathroom. So start planning accordingly. If you're going to need to use the bathroom 30 minutes after you eat, then about 15 minutes after you sat out, start thinking about finding a place to poop.
Guys, I hope this has been helpful. Probably one of the few things I'm good at is crappy advice, and in this case, crappy advice is good advice. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.